The end came not with a massive battle, but with a conversation. Admiral Kim Jae-ho's fleet approached the Vorthak homeworld to find it defended by the scattered remains of their once mighty empire. 300 ships formed a desperate last line of defense around their birthworld, facing the approaching human task force. The human fleet numbered exactly 50 vessels. On paper, the Vorthak held a 6-to-1 advantage. In reality, they were terrified refugees hoping to buy time for their families to escape to distant colonies. Supreme Commander Gorth stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the human ships approach with steady, unhurried precision. No dramatic formations, no intimidating displays of force. They simply moved forward like predators closing on wounded prey. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "the humans are transmitting." Admiral Kim's face appeared on the main screen, calm and professional. Behind him, the Bridge of Harmony's edge hummed with quiet efficiency. "Supreme Commander Gorth, this is Admiral Kim Jae-ho of the United Earth Navy. I am transmitting the terms of your unconditional surrender." Gorth felt his pride flare despite his desperate situation. "Admiral, you face 300 ships with only 50. You cannot threaten us here." Kim's expression never changed. "Commander, you attacked our colonies and we offered you peace. You executed our diplomats and we offered you concessions. You targeted our civilians and we offered you everything we had." On the Vorthak homeworld below, emergency broadcasts began as massive defensive platforms simply vanished from existence. No explosions, no debris. They were there one moment, gone the next. "You taught us something important, Commander Gorth. You taught us that there are species in this galaxy that only understand force, so we decided to speak your language." A Vorthak battleship on the outer edge of their formation tried to flee. It made it exactly 3 kilometers before something impossible happened to its molecular structure. The ship didn't explode or break apart. It simply ceased to exist on a fundamental level. "We spent 3 centuries learning to be better than we were," Kim continued, his voice remaining conversational despite the demonstration of power. "We built a civilization based on diplomacy, cooperation, and peace, and you nearly destroyed us for it." More ships began vanishing, not destroyed in conventional terms, but eliminated so completely that sensors couldn't even detect debris. The Vorthak fleet commanders realized they weren't facing weapons they could understand or counter. "But we remember what we used to be, Commander, and we are very, very good at it." The surrender began in waves. First individual ships, then entire squadrons powered down their weapons and transmitted capitulation signals. The Vorthak crews had watched human warfare for 6 weeks and knew they faced an enemy beyond their ability to fight. Commander Park Min-ji, standing beside Admiral Kim, watched the tactical display with mixed emotions. "Sir, they're requesting terms." "Give them the same terms they offered our diplomats," Admiral Kim replied quietly. The communication channel went silent. Minutes passed as Supreme Commander Gorth processed the implications of that response. Finally, his voice came through, broken and defeated. What do you want from us?" Admiral Kim's voice remained steady and calm. "We want you to remember this moment, Commander. We want you to remember that we tried peace. We offered you everything and you chose war, so we gave you war." The formal surrender took place aboard the Vorthak flagship. Supreme Commander Gorth signed documents that effectively ended his empire's independence, reparations that would take generations to pay, territorial concessions that reduced Vorthak space to a handful of systems, complete disarmament of all military forces, but the most important clause was the last one. The Vorthak Empire agrees to transmit the following message to all known civilizations. Admiral Kim read aloud. "Humanity offered peace, trade, and cooperation. When we chose violence instead, they demonstrated why their ancestors conquered a world and why they chose to put those weapons away." Commander Park watched the signing ceremony with troubled thoughts. "Admiral, was it worth it? Becoming what we used to be?" "Minji, we never stopped being what we were. We just learned to keep it locked away. The galaxy forced us to remember why we built those locks in the first place." 3 months later, President Nam Tae-hyung stood before the United Nations of Earth Assembly. The Great Hall was quieter now, subdued by the weight of what humanity had done to ensure its survival. "The war is over," he announced. "The Vorthak Empire has surrendered unconditionally. Human space is secure." Representative Park Sun-ho from Haven Colony stood up. "Mr. President, what about the cost? We saved our people, but we destroyed our principles." President Nam had aged visibly during the war months. Representative Park. Our principles were a luxury we could afford only when they didn't threaten our survival. The Vorthak taught us that some enemies mistake mercy for weakness. Defense Minister Choi Hye-jin presented the final casualty reports. Human losses, 4,000 military personnel, 37,000 civilians. Vorthak losses, 12 million military personnel, 43 million civilians. The numbers hung in the air like an accusation. 50 million dead because humanity had finally decided to stop playing by civilized rules. Are we proud of these numbers? Asked Representative Kim Demon. President Nam considered the question carefully. No, but we're alive to regret them, and that matters more than our pride. On Earth's memorial wall, new names joined the lists of those lost to Vorthak attacks, but now there were also names of human soldiers who had died in battles, fought with weapons and tactics their civilization had tried to forget. Admiral Kim stood before the memorial with Commander Park, reading the inscription that had been added after the war's end. In memory of those lost to our own civility and those lost to our own necessity. May their sacrifice teach us that survival sometimes requires becoming the monsters we chose not to be. Lieutenant Colonel Shin's experimental weapons were locked away again, their blueprints classified beyond even military access. The reality anchors were dismantled. The biological weapons were destroyed. Humanity put its monsters back in their cages, but the cages remained unlocked. Colonel Yoon returned to Haven Colony to help rebuild the worlds scarred by Vorthak occupation. Captain Bay continued patrolling human space in his destroyer, but the stealth systems remained active and ready. The galaxy had learned its lesson. The new message broadcast from Earth was simple and clear. Humanity's diplomatic protocols remain in effect. We prefer peace, cooperation, and mutual understanding. However, recent events have demonstrated that we retain other options. We trust this clarifies our position. Alien civilizations throughout the galaxy received the message and understood its meaning. The humans were still willing to talk, still willing to trade, still willing to compromise, but they were no longer willing to die for their principles. The Rigel Federation sent ambassadors with trade agreements. The Andromedan Collective offered technology sharing proposals. The Crystal Beings requested cultural exchanges. Even species that had never contacted humanity before sent diplomatic missions expressing friendship and respect. The galaxy had listened to humanity's message and learned. 5 years later, humanity had not fired a shot in anger. Peace reigned throughout human space, maintained not by goodwill alone but by the memory of what happened when peace failed. Admiral Kim, now retired, taught at the Earth Naval Academy. His students learned both diplomacy and warfare, understanding that true peace required the ability to defend it. The lesson was simple. Sometimes the best way to prevent war is to demonstrate that you can win it decisively. The humans had delivered their message to the galaxy, loud and clear. The age of testing humanity's patience was over. The age of respecting humanity's capabilities had begun, and in the deep archives of human military installations, Defense Protocol 7 remained on standby, waiting patiently for the next species that might mistake human civility for human weakness. The locks were off the cages, the monsters slept lightly, and the galaxy was a more peaceful place because of it. Dr. Park Mina stared at the holographic display showing ancient builder ruins scattered across the galaxy. She had been working nonstop for 3 weeks since Commander Lee Hyun's message arrived from Nexus Prime. The debt crisis had turned every scientist on Earth into a detective, searching for any clue that might save their world. "Show me the builder sites again," she said to her computer. The display changed to reveal thousands of red dots spread across known space. Each dot represented a location where the mysterious builders had once lived and worked before vanishing 50,000 years ago. Her assistant, Dr. Kim Jun, entered the laboratory carrying another stack of data files. The orbital telescopes have confirmed 17 more builder installations in the Outer Rim territories. That brings our total count to over 800 confirmed sites. 800, Park Mina whispered. The builders had been everywhere. No wonder the Federation claimed Earth owed them money. These ancient people had apparently owned half the galaxy. Meanwhile, in the Earth Defense Command Center, Admiral Kim Tae was having a very different conversation. His office walls displayed star maps showing human colony worlds and trade routes. Red warning lights blinked constantly. reminding everyone that Earth had only 6 days left before the Federation deadline. "Admiral, we have confirmed responses from all 73 human colonies," reported Captain Yun Sang. "Every single world has agreed to the emergency mobilization protocol. Our industrial capacity is now operating at maximum output." "Good. What about the special cargo shipments?" "All ships are moving according to schedule. The Federation monitoring stations are tracking our vessels, but they assume we are simply moving resources around in panic. They have no idea what we are actually transporting." Admiral Kim Tae nodded grimly. "Let the aliens think humans were running around like frightened children. It was better that way." In another part of the building, Defense Minister Choi Yoon was meeting with Earth's top military engineers. The room was filled with holographic blueprints and technical specifications that would have seemed like magic to people just a century ago. "Engineer O'Day, what is the status of Project Foundation?" she asked. O'Day was a small man with thick glasses, but his mind contained designs that could reshape the galaxy. "Minister, we have successfully reverse-engineered 67% of the basic builder technology systems. Our manufacturing platforms are now producing compatible components at a rate of 10,000 units per day. Can you maintain the infrastructure systems if necessary? Not just maintain them," O'Day smiled. "We can improve them. The builder designs are elegant but old. Human engineering can make them work better than they ever have." Back in her laboratory, Dr. Park Mina was making a discovery that would change everything. She had been studying the legal documents that trapped Earth in debt, but also researching what the builders had actually done during their time in the galaxy. "Computer, show me the timeline of galactic development over the past 50,000 years, she commanded. The display changed to show a historical progression. Park Mina watched as civilizations rose and fell, but certain things remained constant throughout the entire period. Hyperlane navigation systems, atmospheric processors on thousands of worlds, communication networks that connected distant star systems, life support technology that kept space stations functioning. All of it was builder technology. All of it had been working for 50,000 years without anyone paying for maintenance or upgrades. "Jun, come look at this," she called to her assistant. "The Federation claims Earth owes the builders money, but look at what the builders actually did. They did not just build cities or ships. They built the infrastructure that holds galactic civilization together." Kim Jun studied the display with growing excitement. I mean that every hyperlane the Federation uses to move their ships, every communication relay that lets them talk between worlds, every atmospheric processor that keeps their colonies alive. All of it was built and paid for by the builders 50,000 years ago. And no one has been paying for upkeep since then? Exactly. The galaxy has been getting free maintenance for 50 millennia. At that same moment, Captain Yun Sang was leading a classified mission to a builder site in the Kepler system. His small fleet had traveled there under the cover of a resource survey operation. But their real purpose was much more important. "Captain, we have visual contact with the installation," reported his navigation officer. On the main screen, an enormous structure appeared. It looked like a metallic flower with thousands of petals, each one the size of a city. Energy readings showed it was still active after all these years. "Take us in slowly. Remember, we are just here to observe and learn." But as they approached the installation, something unexpected happened. The structure began sending signals directly to their ships. Not threatening signals, welcoming ones. "Sir, the installation is responding to our presence," said the communications officer, her voice filled with wonder. "It is sending us technical specifications and access codes. It wants to help us." Back on Earth, Ambassador Shinyu was having her own crucial meetings. While everyone else focused on technology and military preparations, she was handling the political side of Earth's response. "The key is to keep the Federation believing we are desperate," she explained to her diplomatic team. "Let them think we are trying to negotiate for more time or easier payment terms. Every day they spend feeling confident is another day we have to prepare." Her deputy ambassador raised a concern. "What if they discover what we are really doing?" "They won't. The Federation has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They cannot imagine that a primitive species like humanity could threaten their power. Their arrogance is our greatest advantage." As the deadline approached, messages flowed between Earth and the outer colonies. To outside observers, it looked like a civilization in chaos, desperately trying to raise money to pay an impossible debt. Ships moved frantically between worlds, carrying cargo that Federation sensors could not identify. But Dr. Park Mina knew the truth as she worked through another sleepless night in her laboratory. Humanity was not scrambling to pay a debt. They were positioning themselves to collect one. Computer, calculate the total value of galactic infrastructure maintenance over 50,000 years, she commanded. The numbers that appeared on her screen were so large they seemed impossible. The Federation thought Earth owed them 900 trillion credits. But if the galaxy owed the builders for 50 millennia of free cosmic services, Park Mina smiled for the first time in weeks. Tomorrow, Commander Lee Hyun would return to Nexus Prime. But he would not be going there to beg for mercy. He would be going there to present a bill. The Federation Council chamber buzzed with excited conversation as alien representatives gathered to witness what they expected would be humanity's surrender. Chancellor Morduk sat on his elevated throne, his golden scales gleaming under the artificial lights. Today would mark the beginning of Earth's 15,000-year servitude. Commander Lee Hyun walked into the chamber, but he was not alone this time. Dr. Park Mina followed behind him, carrying a data case that seemed to glow with its own inner light. Captain Yoon Sang and Engineer O'Day flanked them, their faces calm and confident. Human delegation, Morduk announced in his rumbling voice. You have reached the deadline for settling your ancient debt. Have you brought payment, or do you accept our generous labor agreement? Lee Hyun stepped forward. Chancellor, we have indeed come to settle debts today. But first, Dr. Park Mina has made some interesting discoveries about the builders that the Council should hear. Murmurs of confusion rippled through the chamber. This was not the desperate pleading they had expected. Park Mina activated her data case, filling the air above the Council chamber with holographic displays. Honored representatives, I have spent the past month studying your archives and ancient builder records. What I found will surprise you all. The first image showed a galactic map covered in glowing connections. This displays the current hyperlane network that allows faster-than-light travel throughout Federation space. Every ship in your fleets uses these routes daily. Yes, what of it? Demanded Morduk impatiently. These hyperlanes were not created by any current civilization. They were built by the builders 50,000 years ago and have been maintained by automated systems ever since. The next display showed massive installations orbiting various stars. Here are the atmospheric processors that keep hundreds of Federation worlds habitable. Builder technology still running after 50 millennia. More images followed in rapid succession. Communication relay networks, gravity generators for space stations, stellar engineering projects that prevented dangerous supernovas. All builder technology, all still functioning. The builders did not simply disappear, Park Mina continued. They evolved beyond the need for physical form, but left behind automated systems to maintain the infrastructure they had built. For 50,000 years, these systems have provided free maintenance for galactic civilization. Administrator Velthar shifted nervously in his seat. What exactly are you suggesting, human? Engineer O'Day stepped forward. We are suggesting that your debt records are incomplete. While you claim Earth owes money to the builders, you have ignored what the galaxy owes them. The holographic display changed to show detailed technical schematics. Over the past month, human ships have visited 847 builder installations throughout Federation space. We have learned how to interface with their systems and understand their operation records. Impossible, hissed Archivist Zekmol. Builder technology is far beyond the comprehension of primitive species like yours. Captain Yoon Sang smiled. Perhaps you should tell that to the installations themselves. They have been quite helpful once we learned how to communicate with them properly. A new set of images appeared, showing human engineers working alongside massive builder machines. The installations seemed to welcome their presence, sharing technical data and operational histories with enthusiasm. The builder systems have detailed records of every service they have provided over the past 50,000 years, O'Day explained. Hyperlane maintenance, stellar regulation, atmospheric processing, gravitational stabilization, and countless other services. All provided free of charge to galactic civilization. Park Mina activated another section of her presentation. According to standard Federation billing rates, the total cost of these services amounts to approximately 57 quadrillion credits. The number hung in the air like a physical weight. Several council members made choking sounds. Chancellor Morduk's eyes widened until they seemed ready to pop from his skull. 57 quadrillion, whispered Velthar. That is the current market value for 50,000 years of galactic infrastructure maintenance, Lee Hyun confirmed. However, we understand that immediate payment would be difficult. The builder systems are willing to accept a reasonable settlement. This is absurd, Morduk roared, rising from his throne. You cannot simply declare ownership of builder installations. We are not declaring ownership, O'Day replied calmly. We are declaring inheritance. Earth was designated as a builder colony world, which according to Federation Law Code 847 Alpha, makes us the legal inheritors of all builder assets and obligations. But that law was meant to make you responsible for their debts. The law makes no distinction between assets and debts, Park Mina said with a satisfied smile. If we inherit their obligations, we also inherit their property and any money owed to them. Captain Yoon Sang produced another data crystal. We have spent the past month documenting human control over critical builder installations. Our engineers are now managing the systems that maintain hyperlane stability in 17 sectors, including the routes your military fleets use to patrol Federation space. The implications crashed over the Council like a tidal wave. If humans controlled builder infrastructure, they controlled everything that made galactic civilization possible. You are threatening the entire galaxy, accused a representative from the hegemony worlds. Not threatening, Lee Hyun corrected, collecting payment for services rendered. The builder systems have been working without compensation for 50 millennia. That seems unfair, doesn't it? Engineer O'Day gestured to the holographic displays. To demonstrate our capabilities, we will now perform a brief maintenance shutdown on the atmospheric processors, serving Council Station Beta 7. On the main display, a space station appeared. Suddenly, warning lights began flashing across its surface as life support systems went offline. The station's population had approximately 6 hours of stored air before they would need emergency evacuation. Systems restored, O'Day announced after exactly 60 seconds. The warning lights disappeared and normal operations resumed. That station houses 50,000 Federation citizens, Chancellor Morduk said in a strangled voice. Indeed. And it depends entirely on builder atmospheric processors that human engineers now maintain, along with the hyperlane beacons your ships use to navigate, the communication relays that carry your messages, and the stellar regulators that prevent your home stars from going nova. The council chamber fell silent, except for the sound of alien breathing and the hum of electronic systems. Every representative was calculating what this meant for their own worlds and civilizations. Park Mina activated the final part of her presentation. The builder systems are not unreasonable. They understand that 57 quadrillion credits cannot be paid immediately. However, they are willing to accept territorial concessions, technology transfers, and ongoing service fees as settlement for this ancient debt. Service fees? Felthar asked weakly. Annual payments for continued maintenance of galactic infrastructure. Very reasonable rates, we assure you. Lee Hyun looked around the chamber at the stunned alien faces. Of course, if the Federation prefers, we could simply shut down all builder systems and let each world manage their own atmospheric processors, hyperlane navigation, and stellar engineering. I am sure your civilizations would adapt quickly to life without galactic infrastructure. The silence stretched for long minutes. Finally, Chancellor Morduk spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. What are your terms? Ambassador Shin Yu took her place beside Commander Lee Hyun, as the human delegation prepared to present their settlement terms. The council chamber had been reconfigured, with additional seating as representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered to witness what many called the most important negotiation in galactic history. Chancellor Morduk looked like he had aged decades in the past 3 days. His golden scales had lost their luster, and his small eyes darted nervously between the human delegates and the holographic displays that still showed builder installations under human control. The Federation Council recognizes the human claim regarding builder infrastructure, he announced reluctantly. We are prepared to discuss reasonable settlement terms. Lee Hyun nodded respectfully. We appreciate the Council's wisdom. Dr. Park Mina will present our analysis of the current debt situation. Park Mina activated her newest presentation. The holographic display showed 2 massive columns of numbers floating above the council chamber. On the left, we have the original claim against Earth, 900 trillion credits. On the right, the amount owed to builder systems for 50,000 years of galactic maintenance, 57 quadrillion credits. The difference was staggering. Even the mathematically challenged could see that the galaxy's debt to the builders was 63 times larger than Earth's supposed obligation. However, Park Mina continued, the builder systems recognized that immediate payment of 57 quadrillion credits would cause economic collapse throughout the galaxy. Therefore, we propose a structured settlement that benefits everyone. Engineer O'Day stepped forward with detailed technical specifications. First, we propose territorial adjustments. Earth will assume direct administration of all builder installations and the systems they support. This includes 17 hyperlane junction points, 43 atmospheric processing centers, and 12 stellar engineering stations. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Those locations controlled the most vital infrastructure in Federation space. Second, O'Day continued, technology transfer agreements. Human engineers require access to Federation databases on stellar cartography, xenobiology, and advanced materials science to properly maintain builder systems. In exchange, we will share our improvements to builder technology with member worlds. What improvements? Demanded the representative from the corporate syndicate worlds. O'Day smiled and gestured to the display. A builder atmospheric processor appeared, but it looked different from the ancient designs. Sleeker, more efficient. Human engineering has increased builder system efficiency by an average of 37%. We have also developed safety protocols that the original designers never considered necessary. Captain Yoon Sang added his report. Our teams have discovered that many builder installations were operating at reduced capacity due to accumulated maintenance issues. Human intervention has restored full functionality to systems that have been degraded for thousands of years. This caused excited murmuring throughout the chamber. Several worlds had been experiencing unexplained problems with their life support systems for generations. If humans could fix those issues. Third, Ambassador Shin Yu announced, ongoing service agreements. The builder systems require continuous maintenance and occasional upgrades. Earth proposes annual service fees based on the complexity of systems maintained for each world. She activated a detailed breakdown showing costs for different worlds and systems. The numbers were large but not impossible. More importantly, they were far less than what it would cost each civilization to develop their own infrastructure from scratch. These fees will be payable in raw materials, manufactured goods or credits as preferred by each member world, Shin Yu explained. We also propose preferential trade agreements that will allow Earth access to galactic markets on favorable terms. Chancellor Morduk leaned forward in his throne. And if we refuse these terms? Li Hyun's expression remained politely neutral. That is entirely your choice, Chancellor. However, builder systems are programmed to respond only to their designated inheritors. If the Federation rejects our administration of these systems, we would have no choice but to deactivate them and return them to automated maintenance mode. Automated maintenance mode? Asked Velthar nervously. Engineer O'Day consulted his technical notes. The systems would continue basic functions but without active management or repairs. Based on current degradation rates, we estimate most installations would fail completely within 50 to 70 years. The implications hit the Council like a physical blow. 50 years seemed like a long time, but for civilizations that measured their existence in millennia, it was barely a moment. Entire star systems would become uninhabitable when their atmospheric processors failed. Trade routes would collapse when hyperlane beacons stopped functioning. Of course, Park Mina added helpfully, some systems are more critical than others. The stellar regulators that prevent solar flares and supernovas would probably last longer, perhaps a century or two before requiring major repairs. Several representatives made strangled noises. Solar regulators failing meant entire systems could be sterilized by stellar radiation. We do not wish to threaten anyone, Li Hyun said sincerely. These systems were built to serve galactic civilization, and that is exactly what we propose to do. Under human administration, they will function better than they have in thousands of years. To prove his point, O'Day activated a demonstration. The display showed a builder installation near the Rigel system that had been experiencing problems for centuries. Under human management, its output had increased by 42%, while its energy consumption dropped by 28%. Impressive, admitted the representative from the Science Council worlds. How did you achieve such improvements? Builder technology is excellent but ancient, O'Day explained. They designed their systems to last forever, but not necessarily to be efficient by current standards. Human engineering can optimize their operations while maintaining their essential functions. The discussion continued for hours, as representatives questioned every aspect of the human proposal. Some tried to find legal loopholes. Others attempted to negotiate lower fees for their worlds. A few suggested that other species could learn to maintain builder systems themselves. Captain Yoon Sang addressed this last point directly. We spent months learning to interface with builder technology, and we had the advantage of Earth being a former builder world. The systems recognized us as inheritors and provided full cooperation. Other species would need decades just to understand the basic operating principles. And that assumes the systems would accept them at all, Park Mina added. Builder installations are programmed to respond to specific genetic markers and technological signatures. They seem to prefer working with species that have certain characteristics. What characteristics? Asked the hegemony representative suspiciously. Curiosity, adaptability, a willingness to solve problems through engineering rather than force. Park Mina's slight smile suggested that many Federation species might not qualify. As the day wore on, it became clear that the Federation had no real choice. They could accept human administration of builder systems, or they could watch galactic civilization slowly collapse as ancient infrastructure failed without proper maintenance. Chancellor. Morduk called for a recess to allow private consultations among the various faction representatives. When the session resumed 3 hours later, his expression was grim but resigned. The Federation Council accepts the human settlement proposal in principle, he announced. However, we require certain guarantees regarding the continued operation of critical systems. Of course, Lee Hyun replied. Earth has no interest in destabilizing galactic civilization. We propose a joint oversight committee to monitor system performance and address any concerns that may arise. Joint oversight? Morduk's voice carried a note of hope. Perhaps they could maintain some control over this situation. Absolutely. Human technical staff working with Federation observers to ensure transparent and reliable service. Lee Hyun's smile was perfectly diplomatic. We want our customers to feel confident in our work. The word customers hung in the air like a declaration of revolution. In the space of a few days, humanity had gone from potential slaves to service providers for the entire galaxy. As the formal agreements were prepared for signing, Ambassador Shin Yu made one final announcement. Earth would like to express our gratitude to the Federation for bringing this ancient debt to our attention. Without your excellent record-keeping, we might never have discovered our inheritance of builder systems. The irony was not lost on anyone in the chamber. The Federation's attempt to enslave humanity had instead handed them control over galactic civilization itself. Chancellor Morduk signed the settlement documents with a stylus that shook in his massive hand. As he finished the last signature, he looked up at the human delegation with something that might have been grudging respect. You have played this game very well, he admitted quietly. Commander Lee Hyun accepted the completed documents with a respectful bow. Thank you, Chancellor. We look forward to a long and productive relationship with all Federation worlds. Outside the council chamber, as the human delegation prepared to depart, Captain Yoon Sang turned to Lee. 3 months after the settlement signing, General Nam-woo stood on the observation deck of Earth's newest space station, watching construction crews put the finishing touches on what would become the headquarters of the Human Infrastructure Corps. The station orbited a builder installation that had been dormant for millennia, but under human management it now hummed with activity that could be seen from light years away. General, we have confirmed reports from all sectors, reported his aide, Colonel Lee Min. The infrastructure improvements are exceeding all projections. Hyperlane travel times have decreased by an average of 23%, and system failures are down by 67% across the board. Nam-woo nodded with satisfaction. The Human Infrastructure Corps had grown from a theoretical concept to a galaxy-spanning organization in just 90 days. Humans were naturally good at maintaining complex systems, it seemed, better than the aliens who had been taking builder technology for granted. On the planet below, Dr. Park Mina was having the time of her life. The Cosmic Engineering Institute had been established in what was once Earth's largest particle physics laboratory, but it had already grown far beyond anything the planet had ever seen. Scientists from dozens of human worlds worked alongside the most advanced computer systems in the galaxy, all trying to understand builder technology. "Show me the latest discoveries," she instructed her research team. Dr. Kim Jun activated the main display, revealing a three-dimensional map of local space. "We have identified 47 previously unknown builder installations within 200 light-years of Earth. Most are dormant, but 3 are actively maintaining cosmic phenomena that we never realized were artificial." "What kind of phenomena?" "This nebula here has been preventing a black hole from consuming the Vega system for the past 12,000 years. This stellar formation is actually an artificial constellation designed to create stable gravitational fields for easier space travel, and this area that we thought was empty space contains a massive dark matter regulator that keeps several star clusters from colliding." Park Mina whistled softly. The more they learned about builder technology, the more impressive it became. These ancient people had not just built cities or ships, they had engineered the galaxy itself. Meanwhile, on the other side of Earth, Captain Yun Sang was dealing with a very different aspect of humanity's new position. His office was filled with alien diplomats, all wanting to establish special relationships with the species that now controlled galactic infrastructure. "Captain, the Antares Trade Consortium offers Earth-exclusive access to their rare mineral deposits in exchange for priority maintenance of their hyperlane connections," said Ambassador Kreltar, an insectoid being whose species had never spoken directly to humans before the settlement. "And the Centauri Defense League promises military protection for all human installations if we guarantee their communication networks will receive immediate attention during any crisis," added General Vaxmore, whose people had been traditional enemies of the Federation for centuries. Yun Sang made careful notes on all the offers. It was amusing how quickly former strangers became eager friends when they needed something you controlled. "I will pass these proposals along to our diplomatic corps. Earth values good relationships with all galactic civilizations, but not everyone was adapting well to the new reality." In the darkest corners of Federation space, Chancellor Morduke met secretly with military commanders from the hegemony worlds and corporate executives from the Syndicate. "This situation cannot be allowed to continue," he growled, his golden scales darker than usual. "No single species should control infrastructure that affects the entire galaxy. It gives them too much power. What do you suggest?" asked Admiral Torvak of the Hegemony Fleet. "Our ships depend on human-maintained hyperlanes just like everyone else. Any attack on Earth would strand our forces in deep space. There must be a way to break their monopoly," insisted Corporate Director Nexiville. "Other species managed builder technology before humans appeared. We can do it again." Morduk activated a holographic display showing builder installations throughout Federation space. "Intelligence reports suggest that humans only directly control about 40% of all builder systems. The rest are still operating in automated mode. If we could capture and reverse engineer enough installations, that would take decades," Admiral Torvak pointed out, "and humans would probably shut down all their systems the moment they detected unauthorized access attempts." "Then we need a different approach," Corporate Director Nexville said thoughtfully. "What if we convinced other species to reject human services? If enough worlds refused to pay the maintenance fees?" But even as they plotted, reports reached them of worlds that had tried to reduce their dependence on human-maintained infrastructure. The results were not encouraging. The Rigel colonies had attempted to develop their own atmospheric processors, but their technology proved woefully inadequate compared to builder systems enhanced by human engineering. After 3 of their worlds experienced life support failures, they had quietly renewed their service agreements with Earth. The Sirius Federation had tried to create independent hyperlane navigation systems, but their ships kept getting lost in space when they encountered areas where builder beacons were the only reliable guides. Their trade fleet was now paying premium rates for guaranteed access to human-maintained routes. Even worse for the conspirators. Other species were beginning to see advantages in the new system beyond simple infrastructure maintenance. Under human administration, builder installations were not just working better, they were being expanded and improved in ways no one had thought possible. Engineer O'Day had figured out how to use builder technology to terraform marginal worlds that had been considered uninhabitable for thousands of years. Atmospheric processors originally designed to maintain breathable air were being modified to create entirely new, Ecosystems Dr. Park Mina's teams had discovered that builder communication networks could be enhanced to carry not just messages but detailed technical specifications and even consciousness transfers between distant worlds. The implications for galactic society were staggering. Most impressive of all, Captain Yun Sang's exploration fleets had begun activating dormant builder installations in previously unexplored regions of space. Each new system brought online expanded the infrastructure network and made galactic civilization more connected than it had been in millennia. The humans are not just maintaining what the builders left behind, reported intelligence analyst Zeknal to the secret meeting. They are improving it and expanding it. At current rates, builder infrastructure will be twice as extensive within 50 years. This news hit the conspirators like cold water. They had been thinking about the situation all wrong. Humans were not parasites feeding off ancient technology. They were inheritors who understood their legacy better than anyone else in the galaxy. Admiral Torvak was the first to reach the obvious conclusion. If we cannot replace them and we cannot survive without them, then we need to find ways to work with them profitably. Work with them? Morduk snarled. They have made the entire galaxy dependent on their goodwill. Yes, Torvak replied calmly. And in doing so, they have guaranteed galactic stability and prosperity for the foreseeable future. When was the last time you heard of a major system failure or infrastructure collapse? When did we last worry about hyperlane maintenance or atmospheric processor breakdowns? Even corporate director Nexville had to admit that point. Our shipping costs have decreased by 30% since humans took over builder system management. Trade routes that were unreliable for centuries now run like clockwork. The secret meeting dissolved without reaching any concrete plans for opposing human administration of galactic infrastructure. As the conspirators departed for their homeworlds, each was privately calculating how to position their people for maximum benefit under the new system. Back on Earth, Commander Li Hyun received intelligence reports about the meeting, but was not particularly concerned. Opposition had been expected, and it was encouraging that even their enemies were beginning to recognize the benefits of human management. Sir, we have requests from 47 worlds to establish human infrastructure core bases in their systems, reported his staff officer. Most are offering very generous terms for basing rights. Li Hyun smiled as he reviewed the list. It included several worlds that had been hostile to Earth just months ago. Nothing changed minds like reliable service and improved living conditions. Approve the applications for worlds that meet our security and operational requirements, he instructed. And make sure our people understand that they are representing not just Earth, but the entire concept of responsible infrastructure management. As reports came in from across the galaxy, one thing became clear. The cosmic shift was accelerating. Species that had been enemies for generations were cooperating to maintain shared infrastructure. Worlds that had been
isolated for centuries were connecting to the
expanding network of human-managed systems. The galaxy was becoming more unified, under human administration than it had ever been under Federation rule. Not through conquest or intimidation, but through the simple recognition that everyone benefited. 1 year after the settlement, Fleet Admiral Li Hyun stood in the command center of Nexus Prime's newest addition, the Human Infrastructure Coordination Hub. The massive structure had been built directly adjacent to the Federation Council building, and its gleaming towers now rose even higher than the ancient seat of galactic government. Through the panoramic windows, he could see construction ships from dozens of different species working together to expand the station's docking facilities. Human engineers directed the work, but the laborers came from across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to be involved in maintaining the systems that kept their worlds alive. Admiral, we have the annual performance report, announced Commander Park Jin, who had been promoted to serve as Li Hyun's primary assistant. Infrastructure efficiency is up 47% across all sectors. System failures are at the lowest level in recorded galactic history. And the expansion program? Ahead of schedule. We have activated 127 previously dormant builder installations in the past 6 months alone. The new hyperlane connections have reduced average travel time between outer rim territories by 60%. Li Hyun nodded with satisfaction. The Human Infrastructure Corps had grown into the largest organization in galactic history, with over 3 million personnel stationed throughout known space. More importantly, they were genuinely making life better for everyone. In her laboratory on Earth, Dr. Park Mina was reviewing the most exciting discovery of her career. The holographic display showed a builder installation unlike any they had encountered before. This one was not just maintaining existing systems, but actually creating new ones. The installation appears to be what we might call a fabrication nexus, she explained to her research team. It has been dormant for millennia, but our activation protocols have awakened something incredible. This facility can manufacture new builder installations from raw materials. Her assistant, Dr. Kim Jun, stared at the readings in amazement. Are you saying we can build new infrastructure systems using original builder designs? Better than that. We can build improved versions? The fabrication nexus has incorporated all the modifications and enhancements our engineers have developed over the past year. Every new installation will be more efficient and reliable than anything the original builders created. The implications were staggering. Humanity was no longer just maintaining ancient technology. They were expanding it throughout unexplored regions of space. Meanwhile, on a space station orbiting the former Federation capital, Chancellor Morduk was learning to adapt to his greatly reduced circumstances. He now served as regional administrator for the inner worlds, a position that required him to coordinate with human engineers on a daily basis. Administrator Morduk, said Chief Engineer O'Day politely as he entered the former Chancellor's office. We need to discuss the atmospheric processor upgrades for the Centauri colonies. Morduk looked up from his reports with resignation. A year ago, he had commanded fleets that controlled hundreds of star systems. Now he filled out maintenance requests and scheduled infrastructure improvements. Yet he had to admit that life under human administration was more comfortable than he had expected. What do you require? He asked. The Centauri worlds want to expand their agricultural output to feed the growing population in this sector. We can modify their atmospheric processors to optimize growing conditions for the new crop varieties they are developing. And the cost? Standard rates for atmospheric modification, payable in agricultural products once the enhanced harvests begin. The Centauri colonies will actually make a profit from the arrangement. Morduk signed the authorization forms without complaint. Every interaction with human engineers followed the same pattern. They proposed improvements that benefited everyone involved, then delivered exactly what they promised. It was frustrating for someone who had built a career on political manipulation, but undeniably effective. In another part of the galaxy, Captain Yoon Sang was leading humanity's most ambitious project yet. His exploration fleet had discovered a region of space where the original builders had begun construction of something massive before their disappearance. Now human engineers were completing the work. Captain, the final structural components are in place, reported his engineering officer. We can begin activation of the megastructure whenever you are ready. Yoon Sang looked out at the construction site with wonder. The completed structure was a ring around an entire star, designed to collect and redistribute stellar energy throughout the local galactic region. It was engineering on a scale that made planets seem small. Begin activation sequence, and send word to Earth the Dyson ring is operational. The activation was visible from light years away as the massive structure came online and began channeling stellar energy through builder conduits to power installations throughout the region. Dozens of worlds that had struggled with energy shortages suddenly found themselves with more power than they had ever imagined possible. Back on Earth, Ambassador Shin Yu was meeting with representatives from the Outer Rim territories, species that had never been part of the Federation, but were now eager to join the expanding human infrastructure network. Ambassador, our worlds offer substantial mineral resources in exchange for connection to the galactic hyperlane system, said Elder Kethvar of the Outer Spiral Alliance. We have been isolated for too long, and we can provide scientific expertise in areas that complement human engineering capabilities, added Professor Velnash from the Academic Worlds Consortium. Our people have developed unique solutions to problems that builder technology was never designed to address. Shinyu reviewed their proposals with interest. The human approach to galactic administration was attracting not just former Federation worlds but entirely new civilizations that wanted to be part of something larger and more prosperous. Earth welcomes all species that are willing to contribute to galactic prosperity, she replied. However, we require all member worlds to abide by the infrastructure maintenance accords. No military action against installations, No attempts to reverse engineer restricted systems, and full cooperation with human infrastructure core personnel. Of course. Elder Kethvar agreed quickly. We have seen what your people have accomplished in Federation space. Our worlds want to be part of that success. As the meeting concluded, Shin Yu reflected on how much had changed in just 1 year. The galaxy was no longer divided between Federation members and independent worlds. Everyone was gradually becoming part of the human infrastructure network, not through conquest but through simple recognition that cooperation brought prosperity. In his office overlooking the construction of humanity's newest deep space facility, General Nam Wu was reviewing intelligence reports that would have seemed impossible just months ago. Former enemies were now competing to host human infrastructure core bases. Worlds that had been suspicious of alien contact were requesting immediate connection to the galactic network. General, we have a situation developing in the far outer rim, reported Colonel Li Min. Long-range sensors have detected what appear to be builder installations in galaxies beyond our own. Some are sending activation signals. Nam Wu studied the stellar charts with growing excitement. If builder technology extended beyond their home galaxy, the potential for expansion was literally infinite. Prepare deep space exploration fleets. If there are builder installations in other galaxies, we need to reach them before anyone else discovers their existence. Sir, should we inform the Federation Council about these discoveries? Nam Wu considered the question carefully. Not yet. Let us confirm what we are dealing with first. Then we can decide how much the galaxy is ready to learn about builder capabilities. As reports flowed in from across human space, one thing became increasingly clear. What had started as a debt collection had evolved into something much larger. Humanity was not just managing galactic infrastructure. They were expanding the very definition of what galactic civilization could become. The final scene took place in the same council chamber where the debt crisis had begun, but now it served as a coordination center for galactic infrastructure management. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered not to debate politics, but to plan improvements to their shared systems. Chancellor Morduk, now wearing the simple robes of a regional administrator, watched human engineers present plans for the next phase of galactic development. Stellar regulators that could prevent supernovas, hyperlane networks that would connect distant galaxies, atmospheric processors capable of creating entirely new forms of life. Administrator Morduk, said Fleet Admiral Li Hyun as the session ended, you have served the transition process well. Earth appreciates your cooperation during this period of change. Morduk nodded respectfully. I must admit, Admiral, that your people have accomplished something remarkable. A year ago, I saw humanity as a threat to galactic order. Now I realize you have created a better order than we ever achieved. We simply recognize that taking care of infrastructure benefits everyone, Li Hun replied. The builders understood that principle 50,000 years ago. We are just continuing their work. As the various representatives departed for their home worlds, Li Hyun remained behind to review the latest reports from